What is going on, everybody? Welcome to today's news tonight. I'm finally back in the hosting seat. I've moved around in my Discord. I'm in the lower left now, I guess. Some of y'all are freaking out about that, but I am here. And as always, I'm joined by my fellow co-founders in Good Vibes Gaming, Ash Paulson in the upper left, Derek Bittner in the upper right, and our special guest directly to my right here, the one and only Tim Gettys. How you doing today,
sir? What's up, everybody? I'm doing fantastic. I am so happy to be here with you guys. Like, this has been a long time coming. Haven't been able to talk to you guys about video games. This is my first time actually meeting Derek up there, so this should be fun. But you two, I had one of my honestly favorite video game moments of my entire life with you two gentlemen in New York when we got to go do the preview for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and it was so fun because we got to go play the game. We got to go afterwards. Like, we were only there to play the game for like 2 hours. So then after that, we were just in New York with nothing to do. And so we just went to a bar. We were all hanging out, drinking, and we spent all night together just talking about video games and like reminiscing and being nostalgic. And like, talking to you guys about video games is a memory that I just will always cherish. Like, there was such an energy, such a love and a passion with that whole thing that I'm like, I love this. I love that you guys are doing this. Congrats to all of you for the success you've had so far. And if I get to be even a small part of it, I am extremely excited about it.
Oh, man. Well, thank you so much. That's so incredibly kind. I will admit, that is... I forget what it feels like to go to a bar and just have some drinks, man. I miss that.
It's weird, right?
God,
it's crazy to think about.
And that indeed is one of my favorite press trips as well that I've ever taken. Any sort of game industry related trips that I've taken, that is, like you said, Tim, one of my number one favorites. I'll always look back on that trip incredibly fondly for all those drinks and fun memories we shared after getting to preview Smash Ultimate, which was already
insane.
The greatest reason to go take any preview trip. I was so excited.
My only press trips I ever got to enjoy was going up to New York for post E3 press trips, where I was able to get a little bit more footage of the stuff that was at E3, and you never saw anybody else. It was just go, play around for a little bit, and then leave. Nothing. I didn't meet any other people. It was literally me going, like, taking the train up in the morning, doing my preview, taking the train back that evening. Just, 6 hours of travel in one go.
You know, that's actually a good point about this, though, is like I've been to countless events at this point in my career. I'm lucky enough to have been in them. And, you know, a lot of people treat it that way and do that. And it really takes somebody kind of reaching out and being like, hey, I know you. Like, I think that the industry for so long has been afraid to be collaborative and like be friendly even. And there's the other side of it of people that they're just kind of scared about it. It's not like they're actively trying to be malicious about it or trying to like have clicks or anything. But like what I've always loved, and I felt we're so lucky, I've kind of been, I don't want to say born and raised, that's not right. But like, I've professionally grown up with Greg Miller. And if there's one thing that I've learned from him, it's like, be nice to people, like introduce yourself, say hi, and like, you know, like let's know what everyone else in the space is doing. And like, again, we all hung out and we're able to talk about games for hours. And it's just like, every single person at that event could have been in that conversation and it would have been just additive, right? Like, I just think it's an important thing. It's an important note to everybody. It's just like, there's always someone who it's their first day at school. Be nice to them, you know, like go out of your way to like make them feel welcome. And it goes a long way. And it's not just to better them. It's to better the whole, you know, the entire ecosystem. So,
yeah, I know, like, been in this for how long, and I'm still nervous to like see somebody like, oh, I know them. Oh, I don't want to bug them. I'm not going to talk to them. I just, I don't want to be a bother, so I don't approach. So this show's a good way to sort of get me out of that shell, because there are some people I've talked to, but there's a lot I haven't.
Well, I'm so glad you didn't have that thought process when you sat next to me at that fated Pokemon X and Y.
Well, you were just happened to be right next to me, so it's just one of those things where like I fought with myself for a little while. I will say that.
But it is so true what you said, Tim. I mean, that's what we're all about here. Obviously, Good Vibes Gaming, just kindness, being kind and inclusive to people, and that is one of the many things I love about Greg is that shines through so clearly for him, and how just approachable and how humble and kind he is. And if we were all like that, I think we'd all be a lot happier. Just the four of us here are like that, but I think if everybody in the world were like that, we'd all be a lot happier. So
totally.
I can't remember if I told this story before on TNT, but I did meet Greg Miller years ago, back before I even started at Game Explain, because I was doing blogs on part of the IGN blogs, and he got a whole group of people from that he was part of as well to do like a preview thing on Mafia 2, I think it was.
Oh wow!
Just to like, hey, here's what fans think of this event in PAX, the first PAX East, and check out this. And I was one of the people in that group, and took it serious, try to take it as seriously as possible. Like, all right, here you go. So like, because I was trying to make it into the industry at that point, so.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, before we move on too much, Steve, several people in the chat have pointed out that you and Tim need to be horizontally flipped. Especially Tim with his awesome Marvel Studios style kind of funny shirt.
That's funny.
Want to make sure we can,
Shout out to Discord. It has a mind of its own.
It really does.
It does.
So, real quick, one thing I want to point out, for those of you that don't know, Kind of Funny is based in San Francisco. And I've been to the studio once. I was on a couple of their shows when I happened to be out in town, and it's a great experience. I absolutely love doing content with you guys over at Kind of Funny. But I've actually
R.I.P.,
spent more time hanging out with you on the East Coast.
R.I.P. Kind of Funny, or what?
No, R.I.P. the studio. It doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, that makes more sense. I'm like, what happened?
that studio, the studio that you both have been at, is gone now. Yeah, because we
my heart.
I mean, in one way, yes. In another way, my wallet, thank God. Because what happened was Corona, as we all know. But last January, we actually announced that we're moving into a warehouse, like a big warehouse, bigger and better. It's going to be awesome. Cool, except for the fact that meant that we were like, okay, for a couple months, we're going to have 2 leases. And then Corona happened 2 months later. Then we have been spending money on 2 leases for the last, in San Francisco, for the last year plus. But as of December, we will never see that studio again. It's pretty sad. We never even got to say goodbye. But we had some great memories there. You guys were there, so you know.
Yeah.
It is. But you're right, though. I did spend way more time with you in New York than when you were actually there.
I think you were out the day that I dropped by the studio, and I remember I was talking to because Blessing and I have been friends ever since the Kind of Funny Intersight Championship. We got paired together, and we were just talking mad shit to each other, and I ended up edging him out and then choking in the finals and losing. But he and I became friends after that. And when he joined Kind of Funny, I was, we did a couple videos together after that. And I was like, man, you must be so excited. I was like, I love Kind of Funny. It's one of my favorite outlets. And he was like, yeah. He's like, it just sucks that I got there. And then we all had to go home.
Yeah, dude. He was in the studio for like literally 3 months, not even, and then had to work from home. But you know what? Hey, we're all dealing with it. It is what it is. But at least we have this. At least we can talk to each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's options.
And
I just can't wait till we can all travel and see each other at conventions again and shows and such and events. Like my mom has been kind of like, are you sure about the vaccine? Do you feel safe about it? And I'm like, you know what? If a third arm or a second head is the price I have to pay to be able to travel again and go see people I care about and see my friends and meet fans, yes. How many veins do you need? I'll have one here, as many inoculations as you want.
We'll figure it out. Yeah. It's funny, Ash. I this probably isn't fully true, but it's close to true. You are one of the last guests to ever be at Kind of Funny.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, or at that studio, because you came for the Sonic the Hedgehog premiere.
I did, and it was that. I also came for Star Wars, Jedi Fallen Order. I did a preview discussion with you guys.
Yes, but Sonic the Hedgehog was February.
Yes.
Which was right before March.
Twice. Right. Okay.
So
right,
you were seriously like one of the last guests to come to the studio. Yeah.
That's wild. Wow.
Because you were on our reaction content to some Xbox showcase. I don't even remember what it was. But anyways, we're getting off topic.
Yeah.
Enough reminiscing from me.
All right. Before we jump into the news, we do have a sponsor for today's episode. This episode, like so many before, is sponsored by Straight Lace and the Soul Device. However, this specific ad read is for his YouTube channel. Straight-Lace writes, if you like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, game design, Minecraft, or laughing, who doesn't like laughing, then it might be worth your time to check out Straight-Lace's YouTube channel. Straight-Lace spent the last couple of years making videos and the mobile game Gigaleak Lost, but stopped playing in early January and is now shifting Xenogears and is going to be releasing a new How to Play series on the blades of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. However, unlike most guides, he'll be completely ignoring optimization and focus on the personality and traits of each character when delving into their kit, mainly just seeking to make a fun series to watch. Also in the works are developer updates for Straight-Lace's ongoing development of the Soul Device 2 and the mechanics that are going to be present in the game as Straight-Lace continues to design them. Finally, Straight-Lace is getting back into Minecraft and will be streaming it with his friends in a very overmodded pack. Join him over at youtube.com/c/Straight-Lace to check out what he's up to. There will be a link down in the description if you're watching this on YouTube later on, and a link will be going up in the chat shortly. All right.
That's awesome.
So thank you, Straight-Lace, for your continued support of the channel, man. We appreciate you so much. It's great to be able to shine a light on your YouTube channel today. I haven't checked out your game yet. I'm going to very soon, but there's like a million things to do every day, it feels like. Speaking of things to do, however, we have a lot of news to talk about this evening as well. So let's go ahead and jump right into our first story. And that is that Sonic is getting a Lego kit. I'm so fucking hyped for this.
Me too. I'm so ready to talk about this.
Here's my thought. I'm shocked it didn't already have a Lego kit because it was in Lego Dimensions. Sonic didn't have Legos before that? What?
Right.
They'd had a Lego. I think they had a Sonic minifig.
Yeah, there was like
Right.
the Dimensions would have the little just the figure kits that would come with just like a figure and like a couple little accessories, but it wasn't like a full on thing. So this is the first time we're actually getting Green Hill Zone, which makes so much sense. It being the Sonic Mania version, though, I think is the bigger news here. Like that's like I would imagine it being Sonic the Hedgehog. Green Hill Zone, cool. But this is very much the Mania version where we get to see the kind of the Studiopolis robot and all that. It's been a while since I played the game, but there's characters that are very clearly Mania inspired. In addition to Robotnik's Sonic 2 boss, the boss robot, which is awesome.
The Death Egg robot, yeah. I love this so much. And actually, I'm about to post a link in the chat for everybody. This same designer who is helping to bring this to life also did a chemical plant zone concept that looks equally cool. That is not being made. That one's not being made officially, but you got to check this out.
Oh, wow.
She did an amazing job.
Oh, wow.
So just check out that link in the chat. But and by the way, shout outs to Lego Ideas member Viv Granel, aka Toaster Girl, this is her idea. She's the one responsible for making this happen with Sega and Lego.
The purple bottom for the chemical plant zone is it's subtle and perfect. I love it, man.
Yeah.
Now, this does lead me to a very important question, though, and that is, where the hell is Sonic Mania 2? Like, I know that the world has been put into the place that it's at, and Sega and Sonic, and there's a lot of noise there, right? But Sonic Mania was a hit. It sold well. It reviewed well. The fans loved it. It was kind of just like every single area vertical that is necessary was like 2 thumbs up, let's go. And then it's been nothing. You know, last year, if I remember correctly, they said that they were going to, every month was going to be some type of Sonic announcement.
Yeah.
And we got like nothing from that.
Again, the pandemic kind of delayed all those ideas. And Adam Davis in the chat does mention people are interpreting T. Lopes as teasing it, but there's a whole litany of things he could tease. I have no idea.
I mean, all I know is that if and when Sonic Mania 2 does happen, I hope that's what T is teasing. Because to me, there is no Sonic Mania 2 without T. Lopes.
Oh,
he has
not
to
at
be
all.
The composer.
Yeah.
He has to do it. And
guys, we're living in the best timeline where we are of the age now where this is actually hilarious to bring up with Ash, because we are living in the best timeline where the classic things that we grew up loving are now being made by people like us. So it's like things like Ninja Turtles. It's just like we have now been able to see Ninja Turtles go from what we knew it as in the 80s to being kind of reborn multiple times for different generations. And a lot of the people behind those projects are people that are like-minded like us that were fans back then. And to me, Sonic Mania is the best example of a video game that was purely made by fans of the original work. Like that is like it's no surprise that Sonic Mania is as good as it is. Those people love Sonic games, right? Yeah. And you look at other Sonic games that aren't as good, and you're kind of like, well, those are the people that have made Sonic games for a long time and don't really get it anymore, you know?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting once more 3D, people become better at 3D Sonic development, and you're starting to see more and more of that as time goes on, and what people can achieve with that. Because all of a sudden, we're going to see a lot of reinterpretations of what Sonic can be in 3D, as well as what you can do with him in 2D. And thankfully, Sega has fostered a really good modding community and fan creation community for Sonic. And I think that's just bred developers like this and made Sonic Mania what it is, to the fact that they, base it for a Lego set, because who would have guessed the hard-boiled heavies would get in before, Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, all that was featured in the Lego Dimension stuff.
I mean, it makes sense to me in a big way, because I think a lot of people, myself included, kind of got exhausted of the 3D Sonic universe. All the shit that they added on top of what made Sonic good. And Sonic Mania kind of stripped all that away and brought Sonic back to his roots. What worked so well on the Genesis. And like Tim said, people that were fans of the old games that kind of intrinsically understood what made them tick and had the technical know-how to make a game that fit with what we kind of all miss. Or at least me personally as a Sonic fan, what I missed. I think Sonic Mania, I mean, it's up there. It might be my very favorite Sonic game. Oh, and that's saying something.
I think it's mine.
It's easily my favorite, and that's coming from somebody that, like, unironically loves Sonic games. Like, specifically the older 2D ones. It's like, 2 and 3, specifically 3. Like, I could talk about Sonic.
I would still put 3 above Mania, personally, but go ahead.
Oh, really? But I love that. I mean, I think that there's a debate. Like, that is a conversation. Like, but it's a similar conversation to me as Donkey Kong Country 2 or Tropical Freeze. Where I'm like,
they're both so good.
I can totally see an argument either way. Like they are, though, in a different league. The thing that I want to see from a Sonic Mania 2, besides there just being a Sonic Mania 2, I'll take whatever they give me. But Blessing and I were talking about this. What I think would be really cool is Sonic Mania 1 was about 50-50 new stages and looking back at old stages and slightly remixing them to be, a little more surprising than just the same Green Hill Zone we've done a million times. Oh, here's the Death Egg robot that you're fighting at the end, right? Like things like that. I want to see a Sonic Mania take on Sonic Generations. And by that, I mean, I want 50% of the levels to be levels we've seen before, 50% new, but the ones we've seen before to be 3D levels that are then translated into 2D, but not 2D in the way Generations did it, 2D in the Sonic Mania, pixel art, T-Lopes music, all of that.
100%. Yes.
That would drive me crazy. I'm here for that. That
would be amazing. Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that just opens up so many possibilities in terms of what you could do with 3D Sonic Zones, reinterpreted in that that Mania format, that classic 2D Genesis format. Even if they didn't do that, I mean, the fact that Mania is as incredible as it is, and it was 8 returning zones versus 4 new zones, and those 4 new zones were fantastic, especially Press Garden. So, like, let this team stretch their creative wings, and even if they can't do... I love your Generations idea, Tim, but even if they can't do that, let's just get a Mania 2 that is... Or use the original codename for Mania 1, Sonic Discovery. Make it all new zones. All new zones. Let them stretch their creative wings and go just crazy with it, right? I just feel like they can make something so... Well, obviously they can make something incredible because they already have with Mania, but they could do it again. And it could be all new zones. And God, and as Evernight Studio says in the chat, one of those new zones should be the Good Vibes Zone. Because I don't know if you know this, Tim, but I'm lucky enough to be like buddies with T. Lopes. And so I reached out to him, and he created Good Vibes Gaming's music theme. Like our channel theme.
Shut up.
Yep.
Yeah, my God. That is so... See, and that's why I love
Very
you guys,
lucky.
man. You guys are in. You know what's up. T-Lopes is the dude. I am such a big fan of him, man. Like
Me
like,
too.
that's great. That's so cool. Good for you guys.
And yeah, I was so flattered when he agreed to do our musical theme. And so, yeah, even Etienne Ben said, what if T-Lope slipped the GVG motif into a level of Sonic Mania 2?
Yes.
My life would be complete if that happened.
Yeah,
I would
totally.
die happy.
You would be
if that
Sonic
happened.
Canon.
Exactly. But this is all to say, I really, really, really freaking want this Lego set. I'm not a Lego guy. I don't even want the Mario sets. I want this, though. Yeah, it's gonna happen.
I mean, the Mario sets are meant to be played with. I'm more interested in Legos that you display, and
Exactly.
this looks more like the kind of Legos you display. Like, I will totally get Mario Lego sets once they give me Peach's or Bowser's Castle. I don't want to play with them and have these sort of stripped down levels where I got to use my imagination. I want the figures. And
Yeah, exactly.
Forget imagination. I don't need that.
screw my imagination. I don't need. I got to.
All right, y'all. So, I think we all agree we want a Sonic Lego sets are cool, but we all really want Sonic Mania 2, right?
Yeah, that is for damn sure. And I'll also take a Sonic Adventure 3 while we're at it. I
my
actually
God.
unironically
Oh,
enjoy 3D
yeah.
Sonic as well. At least when 3D Sonic isn't terrible or really bad like Forces. Like when it's good 3D Sonic, hell yeah.
And
Yeah,
that
I
gets
agree.
complicated. 3D Sonic,
It
I'm
does.
with you where I unironically enjoy it. I don't think it's actually good. And I think that's okay.
Except for Generations. Generations,
It's
I'll go with that.
inconsistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, inconsistent is true. And like the thing is, Adventure 1 and 2, if I'm being honest, are games that are better in my past than they are now. I never want to play them again. There's no way that they're good. There's no way. But I want an Adventure 3. Like, come on.
Yeah. I still do.
I'm with you on that. Adventure 3 would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was that. I didn't think we'd get that much out of Sonic Legos. Honestly,
Right?
I'm a bit surprised. But again, I guess
Never
I shouldn't be
underestimate
surprised
the hedgehog.
because we opened this show talking
Never.
about how much we could just talk to Tim about whatever. So
Right.
I guess it's not a huge shocker there. But let's go ahead and move on to our next story. And this one honestly shocked the hell out of me. So Nintendo, as you all know, recently announced their quarterly sales. Animal Crossing racking up 31.18 million copies sold. Just coming up on Mario Kart. It seems like the next time we hear about these sales numbers that Animal Crossing will be the #1 Switch game worldwide. But that isn't the headline. The headline is that 9.19 million of those Animal Crossing copies were sold just in Japan, making it the best-selling game ever in the country, which, holy shit.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One,
overtaking Pokemon Red and Green.
I'm going to be honest with you. I thought that the bar for all-time sales in Japan would be way higher.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
9 million is
strange
not
to
a
me that-
huge number.
No, it's very strange. And the crazy thing is, it overtook the original Red and Blue, which Red and Green in Japan, which are usually counted together. So that makes it even more impressive.
Yeah, it is.
It really,
I owned one of my first import games ever was a Japanese copy of Pokemon Green.
Wow.
And I
My
just,
first import game ever was Pokemon Gold.
Oh, nice,
Wow.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I picked up Pokemon Green, and then I ended up getting Pokemon Silver later on. And mind you, I didn't know a lick of Japanese at the time, so I was just
Neither did I.
playing.
Dude,
Yep.
that was my introduction to GameFAQs. So what happened was I was 8 when Pokemon came out in America, and obviously I was in love with it, like everyone was. And when Gold and Silver were announced, it was like the coolest thing in the world. We're like, oh my god, we're getting more of this. There's 100 more of these things. And I'll never forget going to my Pokemon card store, and I looked down and they had the Japanese cartridges of Gold and Silver. And this was before I realized games came out earlier in Japan. Like I never understood that concept. I was 8 and then I saw it and I was like, oh my god. I told my dad, I'm like, I need this. And he was like, all right, and talked to them, and we ended up getting it for $20.
Oh my
And
god!
Wow. Holy
I didn't realize this until way later. It's a bootleg, like fake copy.
Oh,
It is the game,
Okay.
but it is bootleg. Like the cartridge is gray. It's not colored. It is like the sticker on it is like definitely printed on. But when you're little, you don't know. But it was in Japanese, and obviously I couldn't understand it. But that was when I learned about GameFAQs. And I went to the website, looked at all the walkthroughs, and I would literally just follow the walkthrough along as I played. And eventually, I don't know how to read Japanese, but I would understand, that little character, that means Pokeball. Okay. And I'm like, little kids are kind of smart. They put some things together.
Absorb a lot.
I beat that game, man.
I wish I could dig it up. I had a little journal where I would write down the kana symbols like as best I could, right? I had no clue what the hell they were. And then I would like write little, translations for what they meant. And so I would sit there with like my little reference. But after a while, I realized I had just kind of visually memorized what some of these things were. And I was like, I was playing, I had no clue what the hell I was doing, but I managed to make it through the story of the game. And I was like, oh, that must be the ending. I love it. That's cool. But same thing, crazy. I was on Game Facts just looking up. That's how I would figure out where to go. And then okay.
But Animal Crossing New Horizons taking over. I mean, like it's crazy. Like these numbers are insane. The Switch numbers this year are utterly ridiculous, especially given a year that, like, in all honesty, was kind of weak comparatively to any of the Switch's other years for hardcore Nintendo fans, right?
Right.
To start with Animal Crossing, throughout the year we got Paper Mario, we got Hyrule Warriors, we got Xenoblade, but when you compare that to any of the other years, it's kind of lacking, But they didn't care because they had Animal Crossing, and this is proof. Like, overtaking Pokemon Red and Green in Japan is insane. I'm with you, Steve, that like these numbers aren't the most impressive sounding to me when you actually like dial it out of like, wait, the highest selling game in Japan was only 9 million. But then when you think about it, where it's like even some of the highest scoring selling PlayStation exclusives of all time worldwide only sell 13 million, whatever. Yeah. It's like, damn, that's mighty impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's weird to think about how the scale of some of these, because, for example, Chrono Trigger. You think about how ubiquitous it is. Everybody loves Chrono Trigger. It's cited as one of the most best games of all time, and I don't think its sales numbers are that huge.
Yeah,
I think it's like maybe 2 million in its entire lifetime.
Wow,
I'd have to look it up. Yeah, I mean, it did fine. It did well for itself, but it's not a. Yeah. It didn't break the sales charts. Certainly not. And yeah, that's a really good point. And speaking of Animal Crossing, I wish I wasn't burned out on it, because I feel like I feel like I'm missing out on this cultural sensation where I should be enjoying New Horizons like clearly so much of the world is. It is the best-selling game in Japan of all time now. But I have burned out on this series. I've mentioned this before, and I've thought many times about just trying to dive back in anyway and get New Horizons, but I just don't really have any interest. So hats off to the game. I guess it's just it's run its course for me, but hats off to New Horizons. It's certainly
one thing I want to point out in the chat, which is some helpful context on Animal Crossing's Japanese performance. They're mentioning that the Japanese population is somewhere in the neighborhood of 126 million, meaning that 1 in around 12 people in the entire country has this game, which when you frame it like that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. That is bonkers.
Yeah. So real quick, just to have a little bit more clarification on the Chrono Trigger thing, the worldwide sales of Chrono Trigger on SNES was 2.3 million. Here's the crazy part. The 2 million is from just Japan. In North America, it only sold basically 300,000 copies.
Whoa!
That's just for SNES?
That's just SNES.
Okay.
But if you go of all the re-releases, SNES, PS1, DS, and all that, its worldwide sales are about 4 million, while North America makes up is only 900,000 for Chrono Trigger.
Okay, that sounds like the figure I'm familiar with. Yeah, 900K. That's wild.
Crazy for as well loved as it is.
Yeah.
That means
video games have grown so much. Like, it's insane to think about. And like, I think Animal Crossing, when you think about that Chrono Trigger is where it's at sales wise, and you look at Animal Crossing, what it's done in 1 year. We're talking about Pokemon Red and Green. Those games sold insane numbers, not just year one, but continuously for multiple years, Japan or otherwise. And Animal Crossing still has not even been out for an entire calendar year.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
It's just going to keep growing. It's probably going to surpass Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's probably going to hit the top.
This is weird to me when I think about the fact that Mega Man 11 has sold 1.3 million copies worldwide. And so it's weird to me to think that Mega Man 11 has outsold Chrono Trigger. I mean, obviously, I love Mega Man, and Mega Man 11 is a great game. But that outsold Chrono Trigger? Like, that's just weird to me to think that.
I mean, I don't think that's necessarily a fair comparison. But it goes back to what Tim was saying. Video games have just grown so much since Chrono Trigger was, new. So many more people are playing, and that's one of the things, and I've said this before, that I love about Animal Crossing is it's the game I can talk about with my mom. I can talk about it with my sister, my dad, all of them have it, and not through the usual, when my family becomes interested in a game, usually I'm the guy they call. Like, hey, tell me about this game. They didn't even bother with me this time. They just went out and bought a bunch of Switches and got Animal Crossing, and hey, I'm getting texts from my mom, here's my Switch friend code. I'm like, wait, what? What happened?
I love that.
It's great, and so I'm so happy. Anytime I find out somebody, especially somebody I've known a long time that historically hasn't played games before, picks up a console or gets into it, I get just so excited for them, because there's so much stuff that those of us that grew up around games have experienced. We've got decades worth of memories with games, but these folks are getting into it for the first time, and in a way I'm envious, because there's so much stuff for them to choose from, to experience, to have fun with, and I love it when new people start to play, just because there's so much that I want to share with those folks. I mean, that's why we do stuff like this, right? Totally share our love of this with other people.
My mom's not into games at all, and she actually did bring up Animal Crossing to me. She never brings up games to me. I'll send her my my reviews and stuff to watch, just because she likes supporting my work, but she doesn't play games or really care about them. But she brought up Animal Crossing to me and was actually interested in checking it out until I told her that she would have to buy a Switch for it. She's like, oh, wait, I can't just play it on my phone. I'm like, no, I mean, you can, but Pocket Camp is not the same thing. Yeah. So no, you really can't. And she's like, okay, so that stopped her. She wasn't interested enough to buy a Nintendo Switch for it, but that even infiltrated her consciousness to where she was like, what is this Animal Crossing thing I've heard so much about? So yeah, it is truly amazing what Animal Crossing has managed to accomplish, not just in terms of New Horizons sales, but just the way it has become such a cultural phenomenon. And but despite all this, remember, never forget, Nintendo's doomed. They've been doomed since 1996. So none of these sales don't matter. They're still doomed, right?
So true.
Everybody always forgets about the Nintendo War Chest, that they are set to go for a while.
I'm not worried about
that's been the running gag since like the N64's launch, right? The Nintendo's always doomed. Always.
Oh, of course. Speaking of doom, well, kind of. Our next story is kind of along those lines. So this comes via way of Jeff Keighley on Twitter. During an earnings call, Activision Blizzard said it does not expect Overwatch 2 or Diablo IV to launch in 2021. I don't know about y'all, but this does not surprise me, like, at all.
No, I honestly kind of forgot that Overwatch 2 was a thing.
Yeah, Overwatch 2 is the more interesting one to me. Diablo, I'm not surprised at all. Overwatch 2, I am not surprised at this, but if I had to bet, would Overwatch 2 come out this year or next, I would have said this year.
I think so,
and I think it would have been close.
Yeah. Well,
it might have been a
Overwatch 2
COVID situation.
Totally.
Well, but like the Overwatch 2 situation's weird, because from what we've seen and from what Blizzard has told us, it's not necessarily a completely overhauled brand new game. It's essentially they're building off of Overwatch 1, correct?
So that's true, but from what I've heard, and a lot of this is totally like I'm not trying to confirm anything here. Just things that I've heard is that there is a lot more of single player focus in this one, and that there are some type of story modes, and they're trying to turn the Overwatch world into something that is a bit more accessible to. I mean, I don't know all of your gaming taste, but just making some assumptions here. I don't think any of us are the hardcore like online multiplayer guys.
No, not really. And that's
Smash.
what always shocked me with Overwatch, because they have these interesting stories and characters and backstories, and then you just shoot each other in the multiplayer mode. It's like, what's the point?
Yeah,
like, it's cool, but
I think I don't know if you guys have kept up or watched any of their the Overwatch or Overwatch 2. trailers and CG animatics, they're amazing. And the announcement trailer for Overwatch 2, I love Overwatch despite it like being a game that I'm not normally into because of what you just said. Like I would much rather the characters and the story and all that stuff than the multiplayer side of it. But the Overwatch 2 announcement trailer is Avengers Portal level hype. Like it is extremely well done. And I'm like, oh man, if they're making me care about these characters that I don't know much about, like if they can give me a story, a campaign mode to back that up, like I think that would win a lot of the us's over to add to the already insane audience that Overwatch has.
I could not agree more. One of the things that I've always said about Overwatch is that it seems to have all this really cool lore about it, but you have to go find it outside of the game, which to me is just it makes me less interested in the game and more interested in when they post a new video or put something out about the characters. If that stuff, they found a way to roll that into the game, I might actually pick it up and play. I own Overwatch. I bought it with my own money.
Same.
But it's the gameplay just didn't grab me because it's not, like you said, Tim, it's just not my kind of game. And I get that there's tons of people that love this. But if they could find a way to roll all that compelling narrative stuff into the actual product, then I would be all in on Overwatch 2. I would definely play it at least for the story, and then who knows? Multiplayer will probably never work for me.
Multiplayer and all that. Michael McCall in chat suggests that Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 were announced super early to divert attention from the whole controversy they were going through at the time, which I kind of forget what that controversy was because there's a lot surrounding Activision and Blizzard. So
it was when they did not announce Diablo 4 and instead announced Diablo, the mobile game.
Yeah, Diablo Immortal.
Did that come out? I don't even know.
Yeah, it came. It's at least. Don't quote me on this, but it is out in some early access form, and people are really digging it.
All right.
Is what I've been hearing from all this. Odd Doodle in the chat says it's like learning the plot of your G.I. Joe, and I think that is such a good way to put it. Where it's like, yes, you have so much fun banging these action figures together, but what if those figures actually had a story behind them? And that's what the cartoons are for. Same thing with Transformers toys, same things, whatever. Not Overcooked. Overwatch, same idea here. It's like people have fun playing this game with these characters, but what if we gave the characters more? Like, what if like there was actual stakes involved? And I think that's what they're going to be trying to give us with this. It's been a long time since Blizzard's really focused on that side of things, and we know they can do it. We know they have it in them. So I imagine that's what's taking longest.
Yeah. Well, I was right around the time of the Hong Kong stuff that was going on.
Oh,
right.
Then there was
Derek, when we were deciding which stories to cover for today's episode before the show, you brought up a good point about how we reported on several episodes ago about how Vicarious Visions was sadly just merged into Blizzard and will now be focused solely on Blizzard projects going forward. And one wonders, as you posited, if there could be a relation there.
Because the idea is that the Vicarious Visions is helping out with the Diablo 2 remake. So wouldn't it make sense to crap, Diablo 4 isn't ready and we need something for this year. Quick, get Vicarious Visions and get them on it and we'll have it out by Diablo 2 by holiday and there's our fiscal year saved.
Right.
One of the saddest things to happen in video games to me in a long time.
I agree.
Tony Hawk's
finding
Pro
their
Skater,
footing too.
Oh my god, Crash Bandicoot and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater are so near and dear to my heart, and I've seen both of those franchise die and burn and just be horror. Earlier we were talking about Sonic.
Yeah.
I thought it was bad to be a Sonic fan. Imagine being a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater fan for the last decade.
Man.
Oh, it's been bad. And then they come out with last year Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake. Before that, Crash Insane trilogy. It's like they're on fire, and then they get put into this.
And granted, they could probably do a great job on Diablo 2, but I don't want them limited to just Blizzard products. Let them do other things.
Let them do Crash Bandicoot. Come on, let's just say it.
I mean, that's the thing is Toys for Bob with Crash 4, they did such a good job. Like the different teams that Activision had, whether it was Beanox, Toys for Bob, or Vicarious Visions, working in kind of tandem, similar to the Call of Duty system, where it's like they had the three that switch off. We had between Spyro, Tony Hawk, and Crash Bandicoot, the teams kind of, sharing the franchises on, are we remaking this? Are we making a new one? Is it somewhere in between? I loved that. And like,
it harkened back to when Insomniac and Naughty Dog were so close to each other, and then they brought in Sucker Punch with the PS2 era for thanks to Sly Cooper. How there's always like special thanks and Easter eggs towards those other ones, and have that close working relationship to create these really fantastic remakes leading into new games. Still want my Spyro, new Spyro in the same vein as Crash 4.
We'll get it.
Right.
We'll get it, but it won't be Vicarious Visions, so...
Going back for a second to Overwatch and how so much of its extended lore is not found in the game itself, Fantasy Thinker Fan brought up a great point, what I think is a great point, saying, I think if ARMS had gotten animated shorts, it would have been a lot better received. And yes, I think there is such an interesting world to explore with ARMS, and the characters are interesting. I think there's some, kind of like Splatoon, how, you have the multiplayer aspect of the game, but the single-player mode goes really into the post-apocalyptic nature of Splatoon's world, which is really weird and interesting. But ARMS could have really used more spotlight on the world and characters that they're kind of... So I hope if there ever is an ARMS 2 or a Legs or what have you, I hope they double down on really, showing us who these characters are. Because I think there's... I feel like there's untapped potential there for ARMS, much like Overwatch.
I'm sorry, my fiance's calling me. I have to answer this real quick. I'll be right back.
Family first. No problem.
Okay, Tim's gone. Here comes the spicy take. Nintendo sucks at world building. Period.
I feel like Splatoon 2 was that was a great example of them doing it well.
I think it's an example of them doing well for Nintendo, which is... the
thing with Nintendo is they never go overt with their world building. They have a lot of little Easter eggs or hints towards things that people can grab onto and extrapolate on. It's the same thing with the hero's shade in Twilight Princess, leading back towards what happened to Ocarina of Time Link after Ocarina of Time and all that, and how those become videos. And is that intentional on Nintendo's part, or is it just sort of we bumped into this and it kind of works out with the timeline we created?
I think it is always bumbling on Nintendo's part. I always, and I love Nintendo, but I don't go to them for great stories. I just don't. I go to them for incredible gameplay.
I see what you're saying, but I think there are exceptions here. Chris Masterson in the chat brought up Majora's Mask. Majora's Mask has incredible world building.
I will give you Majora's Mask. There's an exception to every rule.
And Splatoon, they even wove Splatoon's world building into the real world, where the Splatfest actually informed the direction of Splatoon 2's story. Yeah. That was so cool, right?
They've gotten gradually better at it. And it's not all the time, but when they pull it off, it's always notable. And I throw the Fire Emblem games in there. Like Three Houses, amazing world building. So intricate.
Mm-hmm.
I do really like me some
and
you missed a hot take
with this one.
Designs, right? Is Intelligent Designs second party?
Intelligent Systems or
Intelligent Systems, sorry.
I think they're second party.
Yeah.
Kinda sorta counts. Kinda sorta.
You missed a really spicy take, Tim.
Yeah. Which
was
was
spicy Steve take, yeah. You want to repeat that for him, Steve?
I was mentioning to my fellow GVG co-founders here that Nintendo sucks at world building. I feel like, by and large, they are not good at that part of the game.
I think that is, for the most part, fair.
See, that's kind of
right.
how
you can think of most games and be like, yeah, he's right. But then you think of the exceptions and when it's really good.
But even then, it's like, it's funny because I agree with you as a whole. I think I stand by that as a whole, I am right there with you. But when I start thinking about any single given game or franchise, I disagree. But it's like,
right.
Because I'm looking at like Breath of the Wild had amazing type of world building, right? Like, for a game with such little story, it kind of built the world out in such a fantastic way. And like you even look at I don't know, it's I get
Majora's
stuck with
Mask
this.
I
get stuck with this sometimes because I think about things like even like Pokemon. I love Pokemon to death. But to me, Pokemon peaked with Gold and Silver's Gen 2 era, but that was mainly because of how much it built on what was established in the first game story-wise. I wish the Pokemon games would connect a little bit more than they actually do.
There's times they do, but I think that's why Gen 5 stood out for so many people, because, oh crap, they're addressing the whole thing of like the animal abuse aspect that everybody made fun of for now, and that's become a big thing. Like, are Pokemon actually happy with people? Mm-hmm. That's an intriguing take to actually dive into. I
gotta ask
they've
you
kind
this,
of stepped.
Derek, as our Pokemon lore expert. Do they ever explain the fact that parents just let like 11-year-olds leave the house and travel the world?
That's just how the world is.
That's just
They're
a
like,
thing.
You're 11 now. You're a man. Go.
A lot of people have
It's
also
just a
pointed
really
out,
safe world, apparently.
a lot of people in chat have also pointed out the OG Paper Mario games, 64 and Thousand Year Door especially, have incredible world building. And I would argue that Origami King has great world building too. And even Super Paper Mario. It's weird. I definitely, like, broad strokes, I see what you're saying, Steve, for sure. And I don't necessarily disagree, but when I get into individual titles, there are quite a few I can think of that I feel like do have pretty good world building.
BJ Bovia says, rather than say they suck at it, it's more like it's not a priority. And I think that's the nail in the head. When they make it a priority, then they nail it.
That's a more diplomatic way to say it.
But you are right, though, Steve. Like, there is something there that it's just like that all of us look at it. And at the end of the day, it only comes from a place of love, of us wanting more. You know, it's like, and I do feel like that's something that us as a culture do a lot, where we kind of watch or play or listen to the things that we love and then immediately are critiquing and questioning the things that weren't there, you know?
Right.
And that's, you know, that's fair. Like, that's how, like, everyone's going to react that way only because we're this passionate, we care this much. But I do think that, you know, there's something there that and I don't want to talk about the MCU too much here, but like, there's a reason that choices work. Like, you know, I'm watching WandaVision now, and the things that they do, I'm not going to spoil anything, but like the way that things are happening, I'm like, episode to episode, I might be like, this isn't how I want this. Why? Where's this? Was this? But then things get revealed, and you're like, oh man, they knew what they were doing. Or, you know, to be a little bit more specific with spoilers that I'm comfortable with MCU Endgame, it's like Cap not saying Avengers Assemble. We could have critiqued back in Age of Ultron, why didn't he actually say Avengers Assemble? But then when he did years later in Endgame, it's like, oh my God, it was worth it. So it's like sometimes being, you know, on the criticism side versus the creator side, it's like, give them their time. They're going to get there one day, and we'll look back at this fondly. But sometimes with Nintendo, as long as we've been covering them and know them, it's like, are they ever actually going to do that?
Yeah.
Or have they changed? And that's a tough question to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, go ahead.
Before we move on, I just want to extend a quick, warm, good vibes-filled welcome to Toast Cross Dimensions and Chumtastic, or CHMtastic. I'm not really sure how to say that, but welcome to both of you.
Almost the Freudian slip of the year.
What? I just heard that. I didn't even think about when I said it. Oh, wow, that's terrible. Good point. So I'm going to say Chumtastic, welcome, and Toast Cross Dimensions, welcome to you both. It's great to have you here in live chat. And that was a whole Phil Dunphy moment that I didn't realize was a Phil Dunphy moment until you guys started laughing.
Chemtastic is what it's supposed to be.
Chemtastic. Okay,
there we go.
Got it.
You drop the E.
Oh, that's great.
All right.
Oh, that's
from
nice.
Hot takes about Nintendo's world building to facts about one specific world they build. I'm going to throw our next story up on the screen here. And that world is, of course, Super Mario World. The Brickster on Twitter writes, thanks to a breakthrough I had regarding the Gigaleak, we were able to find proper names for many instruments for Super Mario World, which led to some friends finding the resource for those samples. With these source samples, they are now restoring the original soundtrack for Super Mario World. This shit is crazy.
Hey, guys.
This is so
fuck
cool.
you. Fuck it. Can we say fuck you on the show?
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
Fuck you. This is the coolest thing
right? It is.
Oh my
God.
God. I've been obsessed with this. There is like this subculture of YouTube channels that are just going back and finding these. And like, I've heard it before for like Donkey Kong Country 2, which is now the second time I've referenced
Jam
an
and
amazing
Sam Miller,
game
right?
today. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Same.
And listening through this, it's like, oh my God, it's like songs that we've all heard a million times, but you hear them differently. I never expected to hear Super Mario World and get chills from hearing the music. It's like, I know this stuff back and forth, front and back, every which way. And yesterday when I heard this, I was like freaking out. Like, it is so cool. And like, we often say video games are cool, and this is proof of that, is that video game history is cool. And to see history come back in a way that none of us necessarily expected we'd ever actually be able to, break into this world and see things that we aren't supposed to see for something we're so familiar with is honestly like so rewarding, and it sounds awesome.
It's so cool. Go ahead, Derek.
I was going to say, the big thing for me, because I'm only just listening to it now, I just haven't had an opportunity, so I'm listening to them now, so I was expecting these huge changes, and what I've noticed now is listening to these, I have to listen to the original versions as well, but they sound like how you remember.
Yep.
That's what I'm getting from these.
Oh, man.
It's funny, they don't for me, but that's because I'm obsessed. Yeah.
Well, I'm not as much of a music guy as Ash is, so...
Yeah, Tim, as you know, I'm like a video game music, I'm a fanatic, right? And I'm so into the history of video game music, and I love hearing the samples from which the Super Nintendo sound that we got, the original samples from which we got the Super Nintendo versions. I love hearing where they came from. And this is the coolest thing. And so it sounds as though you're also a fan of Jammin' Sam Miller. And anyone who knows what we're not talking about, search Jammin' Sam Miller on YouTube. This guy is remastering all the Donkey Kong Country soundtracks with the original uncompressed samples that David Wise used. David Wise and Evelyn Fisher used to create the soundtracks on Super Nintendo. So go check that out if you're into this stuff. But I could go on forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it, Steve.
Oh, no, please.
I was just going to say, I'm just going to keep fanboying out here. It's like, obviously we all love the David Wise Donkey Kong soundtracks, but like there's something about Mario that is just so ubiquitous where it's like everyone in the world has heard these songs. And to hear him, like Derek, I agree with you. It's like they're not as different as the Donkey Kong Country ones are. Like it is a little bit more like, okay, cool. This is obviously very similar, but it is so much more uncompressed. It is so much more like you can tell the intent of the composition in a way that you couldn't before, where you're like, oh, wow, the style, like before you're like, okay, this is in the style of, and I'm not musically trained enough to be able to actually like tell you what it is, but like Mario World very much has this kind of ragtag almost like style like to it, especially, Yoshi on it. Every song has to have that vibe. And hearing these original source samples, it's like, oh man, like this is what Koji Kondo and them were like listening to and playing for. I can just see it in my head. Yesterday I was listening to this and I can imagine, Koji Kondo calling Miyamoto into a room being like, listen to it. Check it out. And he'd be like, yo, that's hype as fuck, bro. Let's go.
In those exact words.
In Japanese. In Japanese. Yeah. But yes. Yeah. And it
Yeah, I gotta say, I listened to these and I immediately was able to tell the difference. Maybe I played through all the Mario games over the holidays just because 3D All-Stars Collection had come out. And so I wanted to play through every Mario. So I did that.
I love you. I'm doing the same thing.
Nice. Yeah, and I played through Super Mario World for the first time in years, and I loved it. So I was able to really quickly pick up on the differences. Like Derek said, it sounds very familiar, but if you're not familiar with the idea of MIDI music, right? A MIDI file just is a set of instructions. It's just play these instruments at these exact times at these exact notes. And what you open that MIDI file in makes a world of difference, or what MIDI instruments are available to the application or hardware that you're running it on. And so hearing the original version was really eye-opening. Like, I agree with everything you guys have been saying so far. I was blown away by this because I got that feeling, like Tim mentioned, that this is what Miyamoto listened to when they were making the game. And then they had to make compromises to get it to work on the Super Nintendo in a way that made sense, which is what all of us here grew up with and what we all remember. And so I had that initial, oh my God, this is wrong. This doesn't sound right. And then that started to fall away, and I was just like, oh my God, I can't imagine having been at Nintendo in the 90s and hearing this and just being, I was filled with joy the minute I started looking at it that way. And I love these tracks now in almost the exact same way that I love the originals, because they carry that same nostalgia, but you get that kind of peek behind the curtain that so many Nintendo fans have wanted for so long. And this, as much as I don't condone stolen data or leaks or anything of that kind, getting to see this shit is so fucking cool. I just can't deny it. I can't deny how cool it is. I mean, that and all the Ocarina of Time beta stuff we've been seeing, it's like my teenage years, all my dreams from those late 90s days are just coming true.
Yeah.
And this comes hot on the heels of us in our very last episode. Actually, on Wednesday, we reported on a new DuckTales NES prototype revealing an unused song for the map theme, stage select theme. And that's now 2 video game music related stories in a row, 2 days in a row. I don't know how long we can keep this going, but I'm
your
pretty
best
happy
life
with that. I know, I'm pretty happy with that. But
Ash will find a way.
I love finding, as you were just saying, Steve, just nuggets of history, musically or otherwise, to the video games I grew up with. And I hope we get to see more of this happen with other games that we grew up with. You know, I'd love to hear the original samples for Chrono Trigger, for example. Like, that would be amazing to hear.
Oh, man.
Who knows if it'll ever actually happen.
I would die and go to heaven.
I was going to say, Podonku brought up a great point. Me, right? Podonku brought up a great point in the chat, saying finding out the Sonic & Knuckles collection MIDI tracks were actually the original level themes in the Sonic 3 prototype was the most mind-blowing thing for me. And yes, it was. That was... because the assumption was that those had been composed on the fly as replacements for the Michael Jackson tracks because of everything that happened with him. But it turns out those were actually the prototype stage themes that were then just reintroduced into the game after the Michael Jackson stuff went down. Really, I just love finding out stuff like that. It's just so interesting to me.
So port Sonic 3 more often, for God's sakes.
Right?
God. It's just lost to time, man.
Yeah, the history of Sonic 3 and Michael Jackson is so weird. Yeah. I agree, Derek. Sega just needs to find a way to re-release Sonic 3 for God's sakes already.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, I've heard so many different takes on what happened between Michael Jackson and Sega back then. One is, like Ash said, all the controversy surrounding him back then caused Sega to back off. Another one I've heard is that Michael Jackson was not happy with the way
I've heard that
his tracks sounded on the Sega Genesis. Because if you know, the Sega Genesis had a notoriously subpar sound chip. It just was hard to get. I mean, play Mortal Kombat on that thing. Sonya Blade uses Kano's voice clips for whatever reason, that's rough. But yeah, I've heard a lot of things about that. I just wish Sega would just pull a Bandai and replace the tracks and re-release the game with some new music. I don't care. Reuse the Sonic and Knuckles music, whatever you want to do.
Use give the prototype stuff to T-Lopes. Have him like punch it up a little bit on the Sega tunes, and there you go.
Yeah, whatever. Right. It'd be fine.
I'd love it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right. Speaking of, go ahead.
Sorry, Steve, just really quick welcome to Spicy Pandaughter, who pointed out that this is also their first time watching the show live.
Nice.
Welcome to Spicy Pandaughter, and also MJ-Dog96. I also don't recognize your name, so welcome one and welcome all, and no Freudian slips this time.
No Freudian slip. That's a good thing. All right, so speaking of re-releases, we have somewhat tangentially related news. I'll throw that up. So we have another update from Ubisoft on the Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake. They say, "Hello, Prince of Persia fans. Since announcing Prince of Persia, the Sands of Time in September," I guess all that music talk has me thinking about sounds, "we saw an outpouring of feedback from you on this beloved franchise. It is your passion and support that is driving our development teams to make the best game possible. With that said, we have made the decision to shift the release for Prince of Persia The Sands of Time remake to a later date. This extra development time will enable our teams to deliver a remake that feels fresh while remaining faithful to the original. We understand the update might come as a surprise, and we will continue to keep you posted on the progress of Prince of Persia The Sands of Time remake. In the meantime, we want to thank you for all your ongoing support. Signed, the dev team." This is categorically a good thing in my estimation.
Yeah.
One,
yes,
developers should have the time they need to make the game they want to make. Two, that first trailer was rough. It was not looking too hot. There were a lot of reused character models, and the character models that were there weren't particularly detailed. Didn't look like much of a visual upgrade from the PS2 game that Derek is showcasing behind him. So I don't feel, I'm not disappointed in this. I think I would have been disappointed if they rushed it out. I'm glad that Ubisoft has taken the time to
they'd already delayed it
this.
once to March, and even then it was like, oh, maybe it'll be better because as you said, that first trailer was rough, and I've not this and the 2008 Prince of Persia are really the only two Prince of Persia games I've played, but I really enjoyed both, and I want to see the game done well, and I wasn't sure I was going to get that from this remake that they were doing, and who knows how it'll still end up, but at least it's giving a bit more time and hopefully a bit more budget. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I didn't play much of this to begin with, like the original version, so I don't have too much to say here, but I'm just going to echo what everyone else is saying, which is give developers the time they need to finish their games properly. And I certainly watched the trailer when it first dropped, and it was full of jank. It looked really janky. So, as you said, Derek, March even may not have been enough, and clearly Ubisoft listened, and I'm glad they're giving them... I mean, it's cool that they didn't even announce a new date. They're just like, it's delayed. It's just delayed. We'll let you know when we know when it's coming out, but we're not targeting another date yet. So I'm glad they're giving this game the time it needs to hopefully be as impressive as possible.
Yeah, I am a Prince of Persia enthusiast. I'm a huge fan. I have played all of the games from honestly, the original Prince of Persia is probably one of the first video games I ever played in my life, period.
Wow.
The OG, 2D platformer one. And when they announced Sands of Time in the first place, I was so excited for it. And going through that in my teenage years, the trilogy on the PS2, Xbox, GameCube era, I loved. And yes, 2 and 3, 2 specifically, had its faults. In terms of style and being a little too edgelord. But 3 kind of brought it back a little bit more. But in there, all 3 of them are extremely quality games, from a gameplay perspective and combat, or less so combat, but more so combat gets better as it goes on. But more like traversal and platforming and puzzle. I'm in this room. How do I get to that door? That type of stuff. And Sands of Time kind of is, I would say, the most consistent of the 3, and definitely is the one that holds the warmest place in people's hearts. And when they announced they were doing a remake, I lost my mind. I've been kind of given this decade of dreams for everything I grew up with kind of being remade and somehow made better in the last couple of years. We talked about Crash Bandicoot, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Final Fantasy VII Remake being an insane example of what I'm talking about here. But when they announced this, I didn't see it coming. I've been wanting a new Prince of Persia or something Prince of Persia from Ubi for a very long time. And when they announced this, I was so bummed out that it didn't make me happy that this was happening. And that's because of what you guys have said. It doesn't look good. And it's not just graphics. There's something just off about the way they were talking about it, and just it felt like they're not treating this like a AAA Ubisoft title. It is very much not even AA. Here's just something that's coming out from us.
Here's a title.
and it's Ubi does so many different games. They have so many different prestige titles at this point that I understand Prince of Persia not necessarily being in that same type of conversation. But when I look at Ubisoft, I see a lot of problematic issues at the top, obviously. But when I think about the games, I see a bunch of AAA. They've kind of invented the whole how to monetize things like The Division and so on and so on. But the things that really speak to me are Prince of Persia, the Rayman platformers of the last decade, those type of things, or the Ubi
stuff they haven't
games.
Really focused on in a long time.
Exactly.
Right.
So getting anything Prince of Persia related, I was at least excited about. But seeing that, I was like, oh no. And the first delay, I was like, 2 months isn't enough. That's not going to fix anything. Hearing this, I'm like, there's a chance this is good. I'm just bummed out that I am so negative on it right now that I look at this as just a chance. I don't expect greatness from this.
You might get it to passable.
Right.
Before, I think it was going to be well, this is laughably bad, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. Well, like I said, a delay is almost always a good thing in terms of, developers having more time means the potential for more polish. But I'm with Tim that I'm not expecting great things yet. I need to see an updated trailer or something, or see Ubisoft kind of put this more into focus. Show that this matters a lot to them, and at least this is a good first step toward that. They care enough at least to delay the game, to give it some more time.
Humble Jojo is cracking me up in the chat saying maybe they're bringing in Jake Gyllenhaal to be quote-unquote Persian.
Oh,
God.
Oh, God.
That was the weirdest casting.
Yeah, horrible, and, fuck that movie and fuck all that.
Yeah.
But I will say, Prince of Persia Forgotten Sands, which is the forgotten third sequel, but fourth game in the timeline of the Prince of Persia Sands of Time, was a movie tie-in video game that happened, and no one gave it the time of day because everyone's like, fuck this movie, this must be bad. It was pretty good. I would say it's the worst of the four, but still pretty damn good. And that was after Prince of Persia 2008, the cel-shaded kind of Nolan North separate project.
Which I'm sad that never got continued because it had a cliffhanger. And I was like, yeah, the platforming is a little basic and kind of automated, but it still had a really good time with it. But I think it's far too forgotten now.
As an outsider looking in, I'm not a Prince of Persia hardcore fan by any means, but I know that generally the Sands of Time is held up as a great game, and then people kind of scoff at Warrior Within for being edgelordy, like Shadow the Hedgehog style, unnecessarily dark and brooding. But that's really the extent
taking a
of my
very
knowledge of the
classical Persian soundtrack for Sands of Time, and then you go for heavy metal.
Is that what happens as metal for?
Yes, it's terrible. Heavy metal. You're on a boat. I played the demo back in the day. It's heavy metal. You're on a boat fighting monsters. All of a sudden, the prince has a dark, brooding voice now, and immediate woman in metal bikini with ass sticking out.
Yeah, honestly, there are so many things about it that are just absolutely bad. However, if you actually play the game and and look at it as a sequel to Sands of Time and as the middle of the trilogy, it works really well from a gameplay perspective and what they do with it story-wise, because the dark stuff actually makes sense. All of him playing with time in the first game caused the time gods to be upset or whatever. So there is death is essentially chasing him since the end of the first game. So the reason he's so dark and brooding is that everywhere he goes, death is and shadows are right behind him. Is that lame and corny? Sure. But at least it gives some reason, and it's backed up in gameplay. And I would say the story of Warrior Within, from what I remember, is actually more interesting than the story of Sands of Time. But again, we're talking about things that are 15 years old at this point. I don't know. Everything I'm saying here, anybody in the chat could be like, Tim, you're fucking wrong. And I'd be like, you know what? You're right. But I do want to say that Two Thrones, which was the sequel, the third one, kind of melded the two worlds. And it was the idea that the prince had his dark side, but also his light side. And it was very good. It was very good.
Nice.
It's one of those things I might go back to, but I'm not above my kind of edgelord thing. I enjoy the original Darksiders. That's edgelord crap. I've not played the sequels, but I've heard decent things.
And to your point about Prince of Persia 2008, that I do want to say is that game is now looked at, I think, a little bit unfairly. It was so ambitious for its time to that boldly reinvent a franchise that they had only reinvented 4 years prior. Prince of Persia Sands of Time was reinvigorating an IP that hadn't existed for 20 years at that point. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then just to do 3 of them and then be like, now we need to do something totally different, was very ballsy. And I think it paid off in a lot of ways. The biggest mistake they made with that game was that it didn't have an end, and the end was DLC.
Yeah, and the DLC even wasn't didn't answer that many things. So,
right.
Oh, well.
All right. Well, I don't play Prince of Persia. I probably need to. I thought the series was dead. The one thing I do know, I like Assassin's Creed kind of a lot. And I remember that Assassin's Creed originally began life as a Prince of Persia sequel. And so I kind of assumed the series was dead when Assassin's Creed became a thing and that came out. And then I want to say that there was a later game in the series that again started life as a Prince of Persia game and got converted back to an Assassin's Creed game. I want to say
You're kind of right, but you're a little off. So what happened here was I will never fully vibe with the Assassin's Creed games because they killed Prince of Persia, and I did not enjoy that as much. But there was a Prince of Persia game that they were making that in the last 2 years, a whole bunch of things leaked for. And there was like some video footage of actual gameplay of this, and I want to say it was from like 2012 or something, and it ended up not actually being a finished game. So it didn't turn into an Assassin's Creed game, but the team that was working on it ended up just making the next Assassin's Creed.
Right, because it was based, I want to say, in Egypt or something, and then we didn't get an Egypt-based Assassin's Creed game for many years after that in the form of Assassin's Creed Origins. Anyway, I could go on forever about that. However, we got 2 more stories. Let me throw the next one up on screen here. This one is not for cowards like me. So according to an interview with composer Akira Yamaoka with a YouTube channel, Yamaoka mentioned that they are working on a game that would be announced this summer. And he mentions, I think it's the one you're kind of hoping to hear about, very subtly referencing Silent Hill or the revival thereof. We've been hearing about this for a while now, that a Silent Hill game is probably in the works over at Konami. So I'd be curious to see what comes of this, because we all know Silent Hills was going to come out, and that was the Guillermo del Toro and Hideo Kojima joint effort that never came to fruition because Kojima ended up being forced out. I don't know that we know the full details.
It was a weird situation with Konami.
Yeah. Well, he just ended up spending a lot more money making MGS5 than I think Konami were comfortable with. And I believe it was somewhere north of like $80 million or something. It was an absurd amount of money. So I can't exactly fault Konami.
Kojima's expensive. I don't know if...
But yeah.
How well did Death Stranding do? Because I know Sony sunk a lot of money into that, and it feels like there might be a little bit of regret on Sony's part. It's like, oh, crap.
I don't think so. Because from what I understand, Death Stranding, I think sold well enough and was appropriately scaled specifically because they used the Decima engine, which is the engine from the Guerrilla made for Horizon. Yep. So I think that Sony kind of came in and was able to, get Kojima to be like, hey, here's what you're building off. You can go crazy from here, which is how we got Death Stranding. But like, these are the tools you have to use, and I think that helped a lot. Whereas with Konami, although they had the Fox engine already made, it was made for MGS5, so I think that a lot of the cost must have come into making the engine itself.
Right. Yeah, I think so. One thing, I mean, the things I do know about the treatment of Hideo Kojima before he left are all terrible. Like, I think we all kind of forget that they didn't let him respond to emails anymore. People had to read his emails for him and filter them. At a certain point, he wasn't allowed to come to the office. He didn't get to go to the fucking Game Awards to accept an award for what would turn out to be his last game with Konami. I mean, they treated him, frankly, like a prisoner, which is terrible. No matter if you're a person of high value or a very visible person or not, it's just a shitty way to treat someone that works for you, period. That being said, Death Stranding, I think, was a really interesting... I actually like Death Stranding. I played quite a bit of it. We got it. It was one of the first games PlayStation ever sent me to check out early, but they sent it like 20 hours early as opposed to 2 weeks. So that, they were like, whatever, if you want to play it a little bit early, that's fine. But it, since then we're fortunate enough to have their support here at GVG, which is great. I've heard through the grapevine that there may be a PS5 version of Death Stranding coming.
It would make sense, or at least an upgrade.
I would hope so. I think it was one of those games that just didn't sell as well as it possibly could have, and I think a PS5 upgrade would definitely help people that are looking for something to play on these things get back into it. I didn't ever finish it, and now that I kind of think that there may or may not be, we may be in a God of War situation where we get some kind of update. I'm kind of holding off because now I'm playing God of War. So, but that being said, Silent Hill, it's a game, I guess. It's not for me. I am terrible with survival horror. I just cannot. Well, people are like, "Oh, play it with headphones." I'm like, no. Why would I do that to myself?
Why would I do that?
Turn the lights off.
All the way up. Yeah, no, I love these things. And Silent Hill is actually a really big blind spot in my survival horror gaming, where I'm very excited at the idea of a new one. I will say that the extent of my knowledge and love for Silent Hill pretty much begins and ends with Akira Yamaoka's music, because the theme of Laura from Silent Hill 2 is one of my favorite video game music songs of all time from a game that I never even played. But I'm very excited at the idea of what a 2021, 2022, 2023 Silent Hill game can look like. I want Konami as far away from it as possible, though. And I also don't think that that's crazy to realize. Like, I would be shocked if we get a Silent Hill game that is from Konami. Their logo will be on the box or whatever, but I very much think that if this happens, it is going to be via PlayStation somehow.
I agree.
It does seem like something like that Konami would do, because they're making profits. Like, they're making a ton of profits, and it's not really worth it to them to develop their games, these AAA games. But to license it out to other people to make it, that might be profitable.
Well, and as Rob Arman X says, to the extent that we know anything about it for sure, the new game is being made in-house at Sony. At least that's what the rumors that have been swirling about this new Silent Hill game seem to indicate.
But with that, though, you really have to question, those are the rumors, but who could it be? Because Sony only has X amount of teams, right? And when you start breaking it down, looking at it, all the rumors came from Bluepoint, right? And you look at Bluepoint, you look at their work output over the last couple of years, and they put out Shadow of the Colossus, and then they just put out Demon's Souls. What's next? And they've had enough teases towards things, and ironically enough, Bluepoint's teases at this point for things that haven't actually come to fruition yet are Metal Gear Solid, Silent Hills, and Castlevania Symphony of the Night. All properties owned by Konami. So where there's smoke, there's fire. Something's happening there.
Yeah,
I can't imagine, like, would they make a 3D version of Symphony of the Night? Like, what the heck would they do? Because
I'm right there with you, man. I don't know.
I hope not.
Yeah, me too.
hope
that's
it's
the one that I hope
2D.
doesn't happen.
Like, you can make that game look gorgeous in 2D. Like, there's ways to make that happen, especially if you do like
keep it 2D.
Yeah, but you keep it 2D, especially if I'm blanking on the guys who just made Streets of Rage 4.
I was going to say
Lizard Cube.
Yeah, get Lizard Cube on that kind of animation for that and get that smoothness. Then you could get something really cool looking, or get somebody to Team Cherry on that or something like that to make the 1999 Castlevania game finally, or something like that. I don't know.
Right, with Julius Belmont. Eddie Beale says hand-drawn Symphony of the Night. Hell yeah. The one thing I don't want to see happen, of course, short of it going full 3D, please God no. As much as I enjoyed Bloodstained, I don't want a 3D style, like a 3D art style in 2D. I don't want 3D character models.
Stop it.
Thank you.
Stop that.
Don't do it.
Ever.
Exactly.
Like, if it's a new game, if it's a new IP, go for it. Do your thing.
Yeah.
Do not take old games or old characters and put them in this art style that none of us fucking want. Although, I say that, and earlier today in this episode, you guys were talking about Mega Man 11 numbers being as good as they are. So
but
maybe I don't know anything.
Styles quite a few times, and I think that it needed it. I was tired of, in Mega Man's case, I was tired of NES Mega Man.
I
wanted them to evolve to like beyond with Mega Man 8 style and beyond. Beyond.
I gotta say.
The thing about go ahead.
Hold on. Mega Man 11 is a beautiful game. I like how it looks.
It really
but
is.
I'm totally with Tim on this one. If you gave me the option between 3D Mega Man in a 2D game or a beautiful hand-drawn HD Mega Man, man, I'm going for the latter every single time.
I think what works for Mega Man 11, and I agree with you, Steve. I would go for that as well. I think what works for Mega Man 11 is the way it's shaded. It's got kind of got this anime shading thing going on that makes it seem more 2D than it actually is. Obviously, they are 3D character models, but the way they're shaded and the way they look in the game world makes it look more like a flatter 2D image than something like Bloodstained, for example. But all that said, bringing it back to Silent Hill as the lone hardcore Silent Hill fan on this panel, all I can say is, whoever's making it, I feel very good about the fact that Akira Yamaoka apparently seems to be involved, because he is Silent Hill to me. I mean, he embodies the series' whole ethos and just the whole vibe of that incredible world. And I kind of go against the grain as a Silent Hill fan. 3 is my favorite, 2 is the popular favorite, but 3 is my favorite personally. And I just hope that whatever they're doing, it's closer in style to 1 and 3 than 2. 2's fantastic, but Silent Hill 1 and 3 represent the pinnacle of Silent Hill to me.
I've never played the games. I've watched my brother play all of them. And I have to say, there's 2 things I want to get out here. 1, I truly hope that this Silent Hill retains some of the crazy, weird Easter egg shit that we've seen in other Silent Hill games. Like, I want a dog at the controls. Like,
dog ending, yes.
I want UFOs. I want a laser gun. The other thing, I don't know. Like I said, I've never played the games, but I remember watching my brother play Silent Hill 4, The Room, and remembering, like, there's a point, and I'm like, is that a hole in your wall? And he's like, yeah. I was like, what does that lead to? And he goes through it, and I'm like, I'd fucking move out. I would not go through the hole to hell.
In a second. Yeah, I would move out in a second, right? Rob Armanek says, I hope Silent Hill PS5 is a 2.5D platformer with online co-op with Nintendo handling the servers.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Good
God.
Oh, why would you even say such a thing? But no, just straight up, it seems like it's only a matter of time until some new Silent Hill game is announced, and I am cautiously optimistic. But Tim, I agree with you. I want Konami's actual development hands as far away from this thing as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I own 1 and 2, have not had a chance to play either, but I know I've heard how good they are, and it's something I want to take the step 1, but backlog. So,
by the way, Steve, I know survival horror is not your thing, but man, you haven't lived until you played Last of Us Part 2 with Bluetooth headphones at night in the dark, and you hear clickers kind of walking around you. It brings on a whole new dimension of the game, man.
Oh, I did that, and I did not enjoy it.
Fair enough.
That game's 3D audio is utterly insane, man. It's scary as hell in the best way.
Yeah, when Sony sent over the PS5, they sent me the headphones for it, the Pulse 3D headphones.
Nice.
And so that was the game I thought of immediately. I was like, oh, I should boot up Last of Us Part 2 and mess around in there and see how these sound. 1, the headphones are great for gaming headphones. I still prefer, like, regular studio style headphones, but I like them for what they are. And yeah, that shit's terrifying. So I will never do that again. But
nice.
It's what I imagine a monster coming to eat my face would sound like. So
nailed it.
Good on you, Naughty Dog.
Nice.
I'm good. So, all right. Speaking of spooky things that I am far too cowardly for, let's get our final story up on the screen here for tonight. The Resident Evil reboot movie is set for September 3rd, 2021. I can handle a movie. But basically, the upcoming Resident Evil reboot movie has a launch date. It says the launch date and just says they're going to keep tabs on the situation and see if that date sticks. I imagine that if we've got a firm release date for something like a movie, it's a good bet that it's coming out. Especially
I don't think that that's a fair bet at all.
Oh, really?
But also, like, over at Kind of Funny, we also follow the movie and TV side of things a lot. And yeah, just having a date means literally nothing at this point, except for trying to tell investors, hey, we're still trying to make money, so don't root us out. Like, we're okay.
Here's when you should feel confident about movies going back to theaters and that it's going to happen. When Black Widow releases.
Honestly,
if Black Widow gets a release date, there's your time when it's safe to go out, because that's...
Oh, see, I apologize. I wasn't thinking theatrical release. I just assumed this means some kind of release.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I'm trying to look into it now. So I'm a little confused because this date isn't new news. We've known this for a while now that
really?
it's coming out on that date. I thought there was some extra thing here
no, it doesn't look like even the link is not working anymore. So it must have been a thing where somebody probably pointed this out and didn't realize it.
But so either way, so it's Sony Pictures that's putting this out. Sony are the only major group, production studio, film distributor that don't have their own streaming platform. So, you look at, obviously, Disney has Disney Plus, Warner Brothers has HBO Max, Peacock has, Universal has Peacock, and Paramount has Paramount Plus. So Sony are kind of the lone wolf of it, of when you're talking about the big dog movie studios that don't have a home to call their own. So that means if this were to be released streaming, they would need to go to a Netflix or an Amazon Prime or to one of their competitors to sell the movie to be able to start streaming day and date on the thing. So that's the one thing that I'm like, I don't know. Because Sony right now, when you really think about their lineup of movies that they're putting out, we got James Bond, we got the Spider-Man movies that are also in tandem with Marvel, but then we have Venom 2, Morbius, the more Spider-Man side of the universe things with Sony that are under their control, not MCU. None of those have homes on a streaming platform. So it's like that's the more interesting thing where I would not be surprised if this date completely gets shifted back because they don't have anywhere else to put it.
Yeah.
Although September,
I see.
If I were a betting man, I think that by June, most people will be vaccinated. By September, hopefully. So I'm saying that now just based on what I'm seeing and what I'm thinking. Anything can happen. Anything can change. So September for a movie, not the craziest thing, but also not 100%.
Yeah, it's.
I'm just struck by how little we know about this movie. We seem to know so relatively little about it.
I mean, same with the Mortal Kombat movie where we got screenshots
that's
and
true.
we still haven't gotten a trailer.
The only reason we don't know anything is because of what I just said of Sony.
Yeah.
Like all the other production studios are putting out a lot more stuff in teasers and images and trailers because they know that worst case scenario, they have a home to put it on. Sony are like, we ain't putting out shit because we don't know. Like worst case scenario, we put out this release date. If we show a trailer for Resident Evil now, people might not see this movie for another year and a half.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I'm still highly bummed that I'm not going to be able to see Godzilla vs. Kong in theaters. That's rough.
There are certain theater movies that I just really would rather see in theaters. I guess in that sense, maybe it's a good thing that stupid Nokia delayed Bond to October. Maybe by then I'll be able to go see it in a movie theater. But yeah, I hear you.
I legitimately have spent my entire life. If there's one thing I wanted, I was like, one day I need a home theater, and that's what I've literally put my entire life's earnings into is building the theater. So I'm like, Godzilla vs. Kong on a 120-inch screen. Let's go, baby.
I'm going to Tim's house for this.
Yeah, you guys. Well,
party at Tim's.
We'll have to be in one corner of each room, but we'll make it work.
Oh my God.
All right. So I think we did it. We got through all the stories. So,
we did.
There is one final thing. A quick PSA for y'all Nintendo fans out there watching tonight. Apparently, Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury has leaked. I assume that means that it is on the usual places where you can illicitly download games, which also means that it is invariably on less scrupulous YouTube channels that are probably posting playthroughs and stuff like that. So
here's all of Bowser's Fury, which, congratulations, you just pissed off Nintendo more, and that's never good for anybody.
So it's out there somehow. If you're looking not to get spoiled on all those all that excellent world building we talked about earlier in the show, you may want to avoid long plays or things of the sort. I'm personally hyped for the game. I haven't played it yet. I hope that it looks good though. When it comes out, I'll be very excited to check it out. But that's February 12th, so we're not long now. I assume you've probably played it.
I've played some of it. Can only talk about some of it that I've played, and I will say it's a lot more interesting than you expect.
Ooh, nice.
I'll leave it there.
Then all the more reason to avoid spoilers then.
Yeah, totally.
Nice.
Okay, cool. So With that, we've covered all the major headlines from today's news. But before we sign off, first off, Tim, thanks so much for joining us, man. I think we all know where we can find you, but just in case, where can we get our next Tim Gettys fix?
You can find me on Twitter at Tim Gettys, Gettys. You can find me on Kind of Funny Games, any of the content over there. If you like Marvel stuff, guess what? We're the best place to be. That's not true at all. We're a place to be. You can go listen to us. We are enthusiasts, not experts. I'll tell you that about everything. But kindoffunny.com is where you want to find us. Again, before I head out, I want to say I love all you guys. I am so proud of what you've built with this, what you are building with this. You have so much more to go. Can't wait to see where you guys end up, because this is something extremely special. You guys, I've been following you all in different ways for many years, and to see you all doing what you're doing now, I think is utterly fantastic and is going to be something really special.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, that means the world coming from
seriously.
you, man. Thank you so much. And we obviously are all huge fans of your work as well over at Kind of Funny. And please give Greg our best, and hopefully we'll have Greg on the show someday. We'd love to have him here.
I'm sure he'd love to be here. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
We have, I can announce we have Blessing coming on the 15th.
I didn't realize we had confirmed Blessing yet. Awesome.
Yes.
Future video games, man. Blessing Adeoye Jr.
Yeah.
If you do not know him, get to know him now. He is going to be something that is unfuckwithable. I'm telling you right now. That kid,
I love that.
That kid's going places, and man, I love him to death. I can't wait for all. Do you guys have a audience name?
The GV
Gang
Gang is what they've named themselves.
The GV Gang is gonna
Yes.
love Blessing. So I can't wait for that episode. Can't wait to listen myself.
Nice. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well,
Looking forward to that.
So in addition to where you can find and apparently Blessing coming on the show, spoiler alert, so you can we need to send a thank you to all of our patrons at the producer tier for making this show happen. We couldn't do this without you. You guys enable us to create the content that you're watching now, and you let us live this life, which we're incredibly grateful for. We have to give an extra
Indeed.
special thanks to our patrons at the executive producer tier and above, and there's a lot of them. Those fine folks are, and it's going to be a completely different order this time because we alphabetized like people should, I guess. So those fine folks are Jonathan Belmare, Brandon Bovia, Rob Arman X, Dan and Twistle, Z Patty, Hyrule Hermit, Sky Blue Flames, Adam O'Sullivan, Octo Puppet, Richard Herrera, Michael Phone, Floating Mew, Christopher, The D-Pad, Guillaume Monet, Vesmio, Waffle King, Nick Waterman, Kitty Kong Facts, Vedron Hotik, Macalau, Joshua Hunter, Evernight Studio, Kieran Phillips, Benny Yao, Shadow the Cat, Azran127, Kenrule09, Jake Pelka, Geller, Shiny Turkey, Joseph Rutkin, Titus Malvolio, Charlie Bird, Mitchell Herring, Lucky Wonderfish, Top Dog 23100, Brooke, Young Ben Kenobi, Charles Zaz, Douglas Comics, Andrew Medeiros, Orem M, Brady Power, Phantom 23, Scott Barber, Rocks the Cat, Loyal Dingo, Flaming Highwayman, Sean Garrett, The Legend of Groose, Eddie B, Kai Ed, Kit Fisto, West Egg, Master Lynx, Sean Davis, Deaneth, Jackson Jordan, Michael McCaw, Matthew Wong, Ashish Joshi, Goron Amber, Straight Lace, Hugo J8A, Seth Walker, Hooby, Marcos Conchas, Wolf X Blake and Moon Macarons, Leanne Mustafa, Kane, Captain Finlandia, 60 Minutes and 60 Seconds, The Game Orb, Dano the Artist, Synchro Lord, Brainchild, and my mom. Hi, Mom.
How the heck was that in
that's
alphabetical
not
order?
dancing.
Yeah, I was
was
going to
that
say, it
alphabetical
absolutely
order?
wasn't. The first few were
Yeah.
alphabetical, and so I just assumed.
Oh my god.
It's whatever
Right.
order Patreon
Had
puts
to
these
dance
in.
through it all, man.
Yes. So
yeah,
me
I'm like-
dancing during the readout has become like a thing now, and that's getting a
You
little.
can only see it live though, because we cover you up by
I know. Yeah.
the
you never see it
actual
live.
names coming up.
I
But
love it. Hey, real quick,
Ash, like with your hair as long as it is, you look like some like what? white
Oh, it's
rapper
not
from
good.
the 90s.
Oh, it's terrible. And somebody was
Parappa.
pointing out that I was doing the Mega Man Legends
Parasha.
Data Dance. Parasha the
Parasha.
rapper. Oh, I love it. Parasha the rapper.
Parasha.
That's becoming canonized. For those wondering, that is the oldest to newest order in Patreon. And that's the order we're
That's
reading.
what it
okay.
is.
So that's what that is.
I do want to say, in terms of the Patreon, in terms of all the people that support you guys on Patreon, shout out to all of you, because you do not understand how much your dollar goes.
Yeah.
$1,
It's
literally all of you people. I understand, I don't know your tier structure, I don't know where everything's at, but literally, even if you just have $1 to give, if you support these guys and you think that what they're doing is worth $1 a month, that dollar adds up, man. Because if everybody listening to this right now gave $1, they'd be in a much different place than they are currently. And all of that grows. All of that turns into something bigger, allows them to hire more people, do more things. Before the show, we were talking, we're having a discussion, and Steve and Derek were talking about who's editing this episode. How awesome would it be if they could hire someone else to edit the episode for them so they didn't need to worry about that and they could do their own thing? That is what Patreon is all about, and we have allowed it to completely transform our lives and our team, and I'm seeing it happen right before my eyes with these guys, and they deserve it. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, if you're listening to this on podcast services or wherever it's available, and you're not on Patreon, $1, man. I'm giving you the Tim Gettys $1 challenge for this month. Give at least $1 to the Good Vibes Gaming Patreon, and it will change everything, man. It's going to change their lives. It's going to change your lives, because you're going to feel good about supporting some good dudes doing good stuff.
Wow.
Man,
Wow.
that's-
So much.
You advertise us better than we advertise ourselves.
I know. Wow.
I know,
Yeah,
we need to
thank
just
you
clip
so
that
much.
and play it at the end of every episode.
Hey, feel free.
Right.
Feel free.
Well,
I mean, the crazy thing is, you're absolutely right, because we have 65,000 subscribers now. $1 from everybody that, all of a sudden we're making a crazy amount of money. It's insane.
That's what it
when
is,
you
man.
think of it like that.
If there's, I talked to Steve recently about this. We did a call to talk through Patreon, talk through podcasts and some stuff, and it's earlier in this episode I said, at events, I'm always about introduce myself, meet new people, try to be cool, all that stuff. It's the same thing when it comes to all this. There was no reason to hold back information. No. A rising tide helps all ships. We need to live with that. And I think the biggest thing for me is Patreon is the game changer. Patreon is the thing that allows the audience and us to grow together as one. And the more that they can help, the more that they can be there, it is only going to allow you guys to create your visions the way you see them in your head. And that means that they're only going to get better content. It's just such an amazing, amazing thing. And I'm so happy that I got to live through the time of Patreon. So guys, do your thing.
Yeah, man, we are trying, and I definitely appreciate your help. There's a lot of stuff coming as a result of that conversation we had recently. So I'm excited to be able to share that with our patrons real soon. But there's a lot of stuff coming that I think by next week we'll be talking about some of it.
Okay, good.
Really
Sorry if I just
no.
something
We've
else.
mentioned-
No, you're all good.
Not at
You're
all.
good.
Not at all.
We've mentioned, I've mentioned that you've helped us with our Patreon before on the show. It's just we haven't spilled the specific info. You didn't spoil anything. Trust me.
My bad. But hey,
No,
support
you're
them. Cool stuff's happening. The more money that comes in, they get to do dope stuff. These guys want to do dope stuff, so help them do it.
Absolutely. So with that, remember that you too can become a patron over at patreon.com/gbgaming, where you can watch this show, Today's News Tonight, live for as little as $5 a month. You can join our community Discord for $1 a month. There's a bunch of other stuff on there. Just go to the page, check it out. If you like what you see, feel free to contribute. We appreciate you, even if you don't. If you just like and subscribe, we just any bit of support, even just telling people we're here, that we exist, we appreciate you nonetheless. So that's about all we've got for tonight. So if you liked this video, like I said, be sure to subscribe to us here at Good Vibes Gaming for more good times like these. And until next time, good night and good vibes. Bye everyone.
Good night, everybody.